Nobody is buying these 9 luxury bag brands anymore, and it's starting to show. The same names that once sparked bidding wars, waitlists, and bragging rights are now quietly struggling to move stock. Shelves are full, stores are silent, and that signature new collection buzz has all but disappeared. So today, we're breaking down 9 luxury bag brands nobody's buying anymore, how they lost their spark, their customers, and in some cases, their place in fashion history. So, which brand kicks off our list? It's one that once ruled the minimalist luxury scene, the go-to for quiet confidence long before quiet luxury became a hashtag. But somewhere along the line, it fell from understated chic to just plain underwhelming. Number 9. Celine. Celine was once the crown jewel of minimalist fashion. Under Phoebe Philo, the brand redefined what luxury looked like. Clean silhouettes, soft leathers, bags that didn't scream wealth but radiated it. Owning a Celine bag meant you got it. You didn't need to show off, you simply had taste. But after Philo's departure in 2018, everything changed. The creative direction under Hedi Slimane shifted dramatically. Gone were the quiet tones and architectural designs that built a cult following. In came edgy logos, shorter hemlines, and a bold, rock-chic vibe that alienated the very audience that made Celine matter. The reaction? Immediate and loud. Loyal customers, many of them longtime collectors, felt betrayed. Resale values dipped, demand cooled, and suddenly, Celine wasn't the understated powerhouse it once was. The problem wasn't that Slimane's work was bad, it just wasn't Celine. And while the new collections have their fans, the brand's original magic, that rare mix of subtle femininity and effortless confidence, is gone. What used to be the thinking woman's brand quietly morphed into another logo-laden label, trying to court the youth. You can see the shift in the data too. Resale sites that once listed Celine bags above retail now show them stagnating. Pieces from the Philo era still sell instantly, sometimes at double their original price, while newer designs sit untouched for months. It's a tale of 2 Celines, one built on timeless taste and another chasing trends that don't quite land. The elite buyers who once swore by the brand have drifted toward Hermès, the Row, and Bottega Veneta, brands that kept the quiet sophistication Celine abandoned. Even influencers, once proud to post their Celine moments, now favor subtler, less divisive aesthetics. And that's the thing about luxury. Once you lose your identity, you lose your audience. Celine traded a cult following for broader visibility, but that visibility came at the cost of loyalty. It's still beautiful, still respected. But it's not the same Celine people fell in love with. And for a brand built on emotion rather than logos, that change hurt more than any price drop ever could. Celine's quiet downfall proved one thing. When a brand loses its essence, even beauty can't save it. But the next name on this list didn't lose itself overnight. It happened slowly, one flashy logo and discount rack at a time. Number 8. Mulberry. There was a time when owning a Mulberry bag meant you'd made a refined choice. Not loud, not trendy, just quietly British. The Bayswater, the Alexa, the Lily. Each one felt timeless. For years, Mulberry represented the sweet spot between attainable and aspirational. It was luxury that didn't need to scream. But fast forward a decade, and Mulberry's glory has dimmed. The same brand that once embodied understated craftsmanship is now struggling to find its footing in a market that's outgrown it. Sales are sluggish, boutiques are emptier, and even loyal fans admit the spark's gone. So what happened? Mulberry's biggest strength, its classic, predictable design language, became its weakness. As the rest of the fashion world leaned into reinvention, Mulberry stuck to what it knew. While brands like Bottega Veneta and Loewe redefined modern craftsmanship with bold shapes and innovative textures, Mulberry's aesthetic stayed safe, too safe. Then came the pricing problem. Mulberry tried to elevate itself to compete with the top-tier houses like Chanel and Hermès, raising prices while cutting back on that handmade, Somerset-crafted exclusivity that once justified the cost. The result? Bags that were more expensive, but didn't feel any more special. The brand alienated its base of loyal middle-class customers, and didn't win over the wealthy ones either. At the same time, resale platforms told a brutal truth. Mulberry bags don't hold value like they used to. The Alexa, once a cult favorite that sparked waiting lists, now struggles to fetch even half its original price. For collectors, that's a red flag. In luxury, resale value isn't just about money, it's about cultural relevance. Mulberry also faced an identity crisis. It wanted to be quintessentially British, but globally appealing. Heritage-rich but youthful, premium but accessible. That juggling act created confusion. Who was Mulberry really for? The answer, unfortunately, became everyone, which, in the world of high fashion, usually means no one. Still, there's a sense of nostalgia attached to Mulberry. People don't dislike it. They just don't want it the way they used to. It's a brand that feels like yesterday's favorite song. Familiar, lovely, but no longer playing on repeat. The irony? Mulberry never truly fell apart. It simply stayed still while the rest of the world moved on. And in an industry that thrives on reinvention, staying still is just another way of disappearing. Mulberry's quiet decline showed how standing still can make a brand invisible. But Michael Kors? Its fall was the complete opposite. Loud, glittery, and hard to look away from. This one burned bright, then burned out. Number 7. Michael Kors. There was a time when carrying a Michael Kors bag felt like joining a club. The shiny gold MK emblem swung from every wrist in Manhattan, every airport lounge, every brunch table. It was glamorous but approachable, expensive but not unreachable. Michael Kors built a dream that ordinary people could actually buy into. And for a while that was the magic. But that same magic became the curse. The brand grew too big, too fast. In the rush to meet demand, Michael Kors opened hundreds of stores across the globe and flooded the market with endless collections. Walk through any major mall, and you could spot 3 MK bags before reaching the food court. In luxury, visibility isn't power, it's poison. The exclusivity that once made Kors desirable evaporated under the weight of mass production. It wasn't just the handbags. The watches, wallets, shoes, and belts all carried that same gleaming logo. What used to say taste began to scream trend. And as soon as a logo becomes a trend, it starts a countdown to extinction. By 2016, analysts were calling it the logo fatigue era. Sales slowed, resale values tanked, and high-end shoppers quietly stepped back. You could tell who the brand was still selling to. Not the Upper East Side clientele it once courted, but everyday shoppers who wanted a touch of glamour on a payment plan. There's nothing wrong with that market, but it's not the luxury one. Meanwhile, the ultra-wealthy shifted toward brands with mystery. Bottega Veneta's woven leather, the Rose silent confidence. These labels didn't shout their price, they whispered their worth. Michael Kors had lost that subtlety. To fix it, the company tried a series of reinventions, toning down logos, experimenting with sleeker silhouettes, even acquiring other labels like Versace to rebuild prestige. But image is a fragile thing. Once the world associates your brand with accessible luxury, it's nearly impossible to climb back up. And then came social media's cruel honesty. Influencers who once flaunted MK handbags now favor niche designers or quiet luxury staples. TikTok shoppers call Kors bags starter luxury, a phrase that sounds more like a training level than a compliment. Even diehard fans admit the excitement isn't there anymore. Still, it's not a lost cause. Michael Kors remains wildly profitable, beloved by loyal customers, and strong in markets where recognizable logos still matter. But in the hierarchy of fashion status, it's slipped from icon to entry point. A brand people buy before they know better. And that's the bittersweet truth. Michael Kors didn't fall because it failed. It fell because it succeeded too well. It made luxury available to everyone, and in doing so, it stopped being luxury at all. Michael Kors showed us what happens when a brand becomes too available. But the next one? It didn't just become common, it became invisible. A name that once stood for effortless French sophistication now feels like a relic of a different time. Number 6. Longchamp. There was a point when carrying a Longchamp bag meant something. It wasn't about showing off. It was about understated taste. The kind of woman who carried a Longchamp didn't need to scream luxury. She just was luxury. The Le Pliage tote, released in the early 1990s, was an instant phenomenon. A foldable nylon bag trimmed with fine leather handles. It managed to blend practicality with Parisian chic. It was light, durable, and deceptively simple. You could see it on everyone from supermodels at Charles de Gaulle Airport to university students in London. It had that magic mix, versatile enough for everyday use, stylish enough to feel premium. But then came the overexposure. What began as a quiet fashion staple turned into a global craze. Longchamp leaned hard into the success, producing the Le Pliage in every color imaginable, releasing endless special editions, and expanding its retail footprint across continents. What used to be exclusive suddenly became ubiquitous. Soon, the bag that once felt effortlessly chic became ordinary. Everyone had one. And in luxury, when everyone has one, no one wants one anymore. That accessibility may have made Longchamp money in the short term, but it cost the brand something far more valuable: its mystique. The brand had built its name on French refinement, but with every expansion, it edged closer to the category of premium lifestyle brand rather than true luxury. Worse still, Longchamp never evolved beyond its star. The Le Pliage was so iconic that it trapped the company in its own shadow. New releases like the Roseau or the Mailbox never quite broke through, either too conservative or too forgettable to make an impact. Meanwhile, younger shoppers were being swept up by the minimalist cool of Polène, Monsieur Gabriel, and even COS's elevated leather line, all of which offered something Longchamp no longer did: freshness. Even the resale market tells the truth. Vintage and limited edition pliage bags can still find buyers, but the everyday versions barely hold value. On secondhand sites, listings pile up faster than they sell, and that's a death sentence for any bag hoping to stay relevant. Still, there's affection for Longchamp. That's the irony. It's a brand people respect, even love, but not one they crave anymore. It's what you reach for out of habit, not excitement. The quality remains, the craftsmanship remains, but the thrill, the thing that makes luxury feel alive, that's gone. In the end, Longchamp didn't crash, it just quietly faded. And in the brutal world of fashion, fading away is often worse than falling apart. Longchamp faded quietly, like a memory you only miss when it's gone. But our next brand? Its fall was louder, a mix of controversy, overexposure, and fashion fatigue. Once the darling of edgy luxury, it's now one of the clearest examples of how a bag can lose its magic overnight. Number 5. Balenciaga. Balenciaga's rise in the handbag world was meteoric. For years, the brand was untouchable, effortlessly cool, unapologetically bold, and perfectly unpredictable. The City bag, launched in the early 2000s under Nicolas Ghesquière, was a revolution in design. Soft leather, slouchy silhouette, motorcycle-inspired hardware. It was the anti-Hermes, chic but rebellious, casual but expensive. The City bag wasn't just popular, it was cultural currency. Mary-Kate Olsen carried it everywhere. Kate Moss made it iconic, and suddenly, every fashion editor wanted one. It became the ultimate cool girl bag, understated enough to seem effortless but distinct enough to scream insider status. But that era is long gone. Balenciaga's shift under Demna Gvasalia changed everything. The house pivoted from quiet rebellion to ironic maximalism. The new designs, from the bazaar shopper, which literally looked like a plastic market bag, to the trash pouch and $1,800 leather garbage bag, were meant to make a statement, and they did. But not the kind that lasts. Instead of timeless, Balenciaga became meme material. The bags were talked about, not because people loved them, but because people couldn't believe them. And in luxury, when your designs become punchlines, your prestige takes a hit. Then came the 2022 scandal. The controversial ad campaign triggered massive backlash, and Balenciaga's reputation nosedived. Celebrities distanced themselves, influencers dropped sponsorships, and shoppers quietly backed away. The ripple effect hit the bags hardest. Resale values plummeted. The Neo-Classic and Hourglass, two of Balenciaga's biggest modern hits, saw resale prices drop by up to 40% within months. Even die-hard collectors began selling off their pieces. The market had spoken. Balenciaga was no longer desirable. The issue wasn't just the controversy, it was that Balenciaga had alienated both ends of its audience. The elite buyers who once loved its edge grew tired of the gimmicks. The fashion crowd that loved its shock value moved on to newer it brands like Loewe, Bottega Veneta, and Coperni. The final blow? Overexposure. Every influencer owned an hourglass bag. Every red carpet had one. The moment passed, and the silence that followed was deafening. Balenciaga bags still have quality, no question, but they've lost their soul. They don't feel like objects of desire anymore. They feel like reminders of a fashion moment that burned too bright and too fast. And that's the cruel irony of luxury. You can be famous, you can be talked about, you can even dominate trends. But once your bags stop making people want, the brand's heartbeat stops. Balenciaga's journey shows just how quickly a brand can fall out of favor. But the next name on our list didn't even need a scandal to lose its shine. It simply failed to evolve with the times. And in doing so, it lost its grip on the luxury market entirely. Number 4. Coach. Coach was once the epitome of American luxury. The brand that captured the essence of timeless style and practicality. Its classic leather bags were once the gateway drug to high-end luxury. The brand that symbolized, I'm successful, but I'm still grounded. The Parker, the Rogue, and of course the Duffel were all highly regarded in the bag world, beloved for their craftsmanship, understated elegance, and quiet sophistication. But somewhere along the way, Coach's identity started to fray. And the culprit? Overexposure. In the 2000s, Coach decided to shift its focus. The bags that once had an exclusive, special quality about them started appearing on every mall shelf, in every department store, and in countless outlets. Instead of maintaining that aspirational vibe, the brand became too accessible. Suddenly, a Coach bag wasn't just a marker of success, it was everywhere and everyone had one. The shift was subtle at first. Coach tried to fight it by collaborating with high-end designers, but the magic was gone. The once beloved classic leather bags were now competing with flashy, logo-heavy designs that didn't feel special anymore. And while Coach's bags were still high quality, the desire for them had faded. When luxury became synonymous with mass production, it no longer commanded the respect it once did. What's more, Coach became a victim of its own pricing strategy. It wanted to position itself as affordable luxury, but by trying to appeal to a broader demographic, it watered down its image. Coach's strategy of frequent sales and discounts eroded its luxury status, turning its iconic bags into something you could pick up at a discounted price at any outlet. Once the middle class was saturated with Coach's offerings, there wasn't much left to keep the elite interested. Resale values plummeted. The bags that used to fetch a premium price on secondhand markets now languish for months without finding buyers. Where other luxury bags from brands like Louis Vuitton and Chanel continue to gain value over time, Coach's designs have become increasingly disposable. The once cherished Coach bag is now something you find in thrift shops. No longer a symbol of status, but just another old item on a sale rack. While Coach has attempted to rebrand over the past few years, launching new designs and pushing to regain some of its former prestige, the damage is done. Younger, wealthier buyers are no longer interested. They don't want the bags their parents or grandparents carried. And Coach's push for nostalgia didn't win over the next generation of luxury shoppers. Today, Coach is a shadow of its former self, still respected for its craftsmanship, but no longer seen as the go-to brand for luxury bags. The brand, once built on timelessness, has become synonymous with familiarity, and in the world of luxury, that's rarely a compliment. Coach's downfall was one of too much visibility, but the next brand's issues run deeper. This was once the it bag of the elite, the one you saw on the arms of influencers, celebrities, and the ultra-rich. It was the definition of luxury, exclusivity, and sheer opulence. But today, it's hard to even give them away. Let's talk about number 3. Number 3, Fendi. Fendi's story is one of dramatic highs and crushing lows. Once upon a time, the brand was untouchable. The baguette bag, the logo-covered FF designs, and the iconic fur accents, all were symbols of a level of wealth and luxury that few could touch. It was the bag that screamed sophistication and success. If you owned a Fendi bag, you were part of an elite club that made no effort to blend in. But what happens when the exclusive becomes too visible? Fendi, once the gold standard in luxury, watched as its bold branding and in-your-face logos became a liability. The signature FF print which was once a symbol of prestige, became a walking billboard, and not in the cool way. It's the same story that's happened to so many luxury brands. The more they tried to get their logo seen, the more they made it ordinary. The 2000s were the peak for Fendi's bag game. Everyone wanted a piece of that luxury. The baguette bag had a waiting list so long, it became a symbol of the ultimate fashion status. But with every iconic release came an inevitable oversaturation. By the time 2010 rolled around, Fendi had flooded the market. The same bags you once coveted were now everywhere, making them feel less like luxury and more like fashion fast food. And then came the price hikes. Fendi's bags, already expensive, began to creep further into the stratosphere. The shift from accessible luxury to out-of-reach opulence made the bags feel less like an investment and more like a vanity project. As the resale market slowed, once coveted bags began to sit on shelves longer. Even the peekaboo, which once commanded insane resale prices, wasn't immune to the changing tide. Resale platforms told the story. Fendi bags that were once seen as instant investments now linger in secondhand markets for months. The same bags that had once been snapped up in seconds now barely attract a second glance. And when a bag starts gathering dust in the resale market, you know its luxury status is slipping. At its core, Fendi still makes beautiful bags. The craftsmanship is undeniable. But the problem isn't the product, it's the perception. The rich have moved on to quieter, more refined options. Fendi, with its oversized logos and attention-grabbing designs, feels out of step with today's demand for subtlety. The bag that once defined high fashion now feels loud, dated, and too much. And in luxury, too much can be a death sentence. Fendi's downfall was all about oversaturation, a classic case of success turned stale. But the next brand? Its decline isn't due to too much exposure. It's about losing its soul while trying to cling to its former glory. This brand was once the ultimate in luxury bags, the kind that only the most elite could afford. But today, it's barely clinging to relevance. Number 2. Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton has been the symbol of luxury for decades. For the wealthy, it wasn't just a brand, it was a way of life. The monogram was everywhere. From the LV Speedy to the Never Full tote, LV's bags were the ultimate status symbol, the go-to for anyone who wanted to signal wealth, sophistication, and taste. And let's be clear, LV still carries an aura of prestige, but the shine is fading. The brand's biggest mistake? Overexposure. Louis Vuitton has become too accessible. It's not just the thousands of Louis Vuitton bags flooding boutiques and streets worldwide. It's the collaborations with high fashion houses like Supreme and artists like Jeff Koons, which, while profitable, have eroded the brand's exclusivity. For a luxury brand that once relied on quiet elegance, the bold, loud designs felt out of place. Louis Vuitton used to be known for its craftsmanship and understated luxury, but now it's everywhere. The iconic monogram, once reserved for a select few, is now in the hands of nearly anyone who can afford a bag in the lower thousands. The market is flooded with knockoffs, cheaper alternatives, and limited edition prints. Louis Vuitton's history of quiet exclusivity has been replaced by a frenzy of consumerism. For the ultra-wealthy, that's a red flag. What's more concerning is the resale value. In the past, Louis Vuitton bags held their value exceptionally well, often fetching more than their original retail price in secondhand markets. Not anymore. The resale market for LV bags has dramatically slowed. Once in-demand pieces like the Louis Vuitton Alma or Neverfull are sitting unsold on platforms like The Real Real and Vestiaire Collective, some with markdowns of up to 30%. For collectors, that's a major blow. In luxury, resale value isn't just about profit. It's about the cultural significance of the item. And once LV's bags lost that allure, they stopped being the must-have investment pieces they once were. It's not all bad news. Louis Vuitton still has a dedicated customer base, and the brand continues to be a symbol of luxury for many. But for the ultra-wealthy, LV's bags no longer carry the same mystique. The old it bags are now seen as commonplace. And as more and more people flash the signature LV logo, the appeal has dimmed. The ultra-wealthy have shifted to brands that represent more subtle luxury. Bags that say, I have wealth, but I don't need to announce it. Louis Vuitton is still iconic, no doubt, but it's no longer the king of luxury bags. It's become a reminder of what happens when a brand overreaches and forgets that luxury is about more than just a logo. It's about rarity, desirability, and timelessness. And sadly, LV has started to lose all three. Louis Vuitton's fall from exclusivity shows how luxury can become too accessible, but the next brand's downfall is even more profound. It's not just about accessibility or overexposure. This brand's decline is a reflection of the changing taste of the ultra-wealthy, who are shifting away from ostentation to more understated, refined choices. Let's see which brand claims the top spot in our countdown. Number 1. Gucci. Gucci's place at the top of this list isn't just about how fast the brand has fallen. It's about how spectacularly it lost its way. Once the epitome of Italian luxury and sophistication, Gucci has now become a cautionary tale of how a legacy brand can implode by trying too hard to stay relevant. The Gucci Bamboo, the Dionysus, and the Jackie 1961, these iconic bags once stood for the very essence of high-end craftsmanship, subtlety, and class. You could spot a Gucci bag a mile away, not because of the flashy logos, but because of the design integrity. But under Alessandro Michele's creative direction, Gucci's identity shifted radically. The brand that once represented the perfect balance of luxury and restraint suddenly became a playground for gimmicks, excessive logos, and maximalist designs. The Gucci logo, once discreet and refined, now appeared in huge, bold print, saturating bags, shoes, and accessories. This wasn't the Gucci that the ultra-rich had fallen in love with. Instead, it was a brand that tried to cater to everyone, loud, eccentric, and too much. Luxury, for the wealthy, is about understated elegance, and the excessive flair Gucci adopted was, simply put, too in your face for those who valued discretion. Gucci's signature GG monogram, once the hallmark of exclusivity, is now everywhere. From Instagram influencers to fast fashion knockoffs. That simple GG now signifies middle market rather than elite. And in luxury, visibility is the kiss of death. When every influencer on TikTok is sporting a Gucci bag, it stops feeling special. It stops feeling like luxury. This isn't just about aesthetics. Gucci also fell victim to an overexposure problem. With collaborations with every streetwear brand imaginable, think Balenciaga and North Face, Gucci lost the gravitas it once held. The brand became less about tradition and artistry and more about hype-driven, trend-chasing products. That decision alienated its core affluent customer base, the ones who valued the brand's legacy of refined Italian craftsmanship. The result? Gucci bags that once sold for premium prices are now languishing in resale markets, sitting unsold for months. The luxury clientele who once coveted them are now turning to brands that remain focused on quiet luxury, brands the row. Gucci's bags, once symbols of class, have been replaced by brands that speak in whispers, not shouts. The real kicker? Gucci's failure to reinvent itself in a way that balances its heritage with modern demands has caused a massive dip in resale value. In 2020, for example, Gucci's resale prices dropped by almost 15%, while other luxury brands saw growth. Once considered an investment piece, the Gucci bag is now seen as an impulse purchase, something you wear for the moment, but not something that'll hold value in the long run. In the end, Gucci's loud branding and willingness to chase trends led to the ultimate loss of its status. What was once a status symbol for the ultra-wealthy became a trendy, disposable accessory. Luxury is about rarity, not overexposure. And Gucci, once at the peak, now sits at the bottom, still trying to reclaim the allure it lost. So, there you have it, 9 luxury bag brands that have lost their shine, each one a reminder of how quickly fashion can turn. In a world that constantly moves forward, staying relevant means more than just crafting beautiful bags. It means knowing when to evolve, when to stay quiet, and when to let the brand speak for itself. If this list surprised you, or if you've been eyeing one of these bags, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insider looks at the changing world of luxury. Because in fashion, what's in today might be out tomorrow.